Hello, everyone. This is so exciting. This is our very first episode of Behind the Lash. I am your host, Priscilla. I am formerly known as SD Beauty Bar San Diego Beauty Bar. I'm so excited to be filming this first episode. I decided to do it by myself. Usually, it's going to be with a guest. So, the main topic and general niche that I have for this podcast channel is going to be a podcast that everyone in the industry can watch and everyone in general, but mostly people in the industry can relate because every month we're going to be dropping on the 15th. Every episode is going to have a new guest. It's preferably a lash artist. We might venture out into a different beauty professional. Maybe someone who does hair, someone who does nails. But the main topic of conversation is going to be our nightmare experiences in this industry, specifically clients, but we can talk about workspaces, we can talk about anything, but specifically nightmare experience, bad experiences. So I would love for an artist to come on here and I would give them the space to introduce themselves and see how their business flourished to become what it is, and then we will get into some juicy topics. But today's episode is just me, myself, and I'm gonna dive into my journey in this industry. I have been a lash artist for around, I believe, 6 years, 5 to 6 years this year. I have really bad memory. I've been in this industry for a while, but I would say I think it's 5 years since 2019. And I recently just became a supplier, a lash supplier. I have been selling products for almost a year. We're gonna hit a year next month. So exciting! And that's a whole different process and journey in itself. But we're gonna dive into the very, 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 very beginning of how I even became a lash artist. I did a Q&A online on Instagram, and so many people asked, how did you become an artist? How did you become a lash artist? What made you start doing what you do? And how it all started, I was working a regular job, and I was working at Home Depot at the time, and I was getting paid maybe 4 to 600 every 2 weeks. That is nothing. Back then, I had no responsibility, so it kind of worked. But then I started to get older. I was 20 working there, and I transferred to another job. I was working at a mental health clinic. I absolutely loved it. And that was a really cool job. And I had a friend on Instagram post some type of giveaway, and I clicked on it, and it was a giveaway for eyelash extensions. So I was like, okay, why not? What am I gonna lose entering this giveaway? I could win lashes or just win nothing. So I ended up winning this giveaway. It was so cool. I felt so cool. It was like the first giveaway I've ever won, and it was for eyelash extensions. And eyelash extensions were fairly new, kind of barely getting into the game. It was 2018. It was 2018 when I got my lashes done for the first time, and it was because I won it off of a giveaway. When I went to go get my lashes done, I went all out. When I say I went all out, I got mega volume lashes. And they were like long. They were like 17 mm D curl. And I told her I want the most dramatic set. And after she got done, I thought I looked crazy. Everyone knows the feeling when you guys go full. And it was my very first time getting lashes done. I looked freaking crazy. I literally went home and told my boyfriend, I have caterpillars on my eyes. Like, I need to take these off. And then I obviously didn't take them off. um, a couple days passed and I was like, wow, I really love them. I started feeling myself. I was like, these lashes make me feel so pretty. I'm gonna keep getting my lashes done. So I was following the lash artist on Instagram, and I also seen her posting that she was training, and the training was really affordable. I think at the time it was around $500 or 550. It's somewhere around that price. And I was like, okay, I think I want to try lashes. I'm gonna do a side. It was always started as a side hustle. I was like, I'm gonna try lashes and see how this goes. I absolutely had no support except my boyfriend. My boyfriend is the only one that told me, go, you should try it. Because it literally was gonna take all my money. As I said, I wasn't making much money back then. So if I needed to spend the money, it was gonna be from my next paycheck and whatever I had left after I paid all my bills. And at that time I didn't have much bills, but I wasn't getting paid much either. So it literally went straight to this training, and I had a family member tell me this is not worth it. You're wasting your money. It's not going to go anywhere. And that really struck me. I was like, maybe it's not worth it. But good thing I didn't listen to that family member because I ended up going to the training. I ended up spending all my money and going to that training. And I did not learn much. I did not learn much, but I did get fanning down pretty easily. I wish I learned how to isolate more and how to fill up close, like pretty good coverage on the eyes, because I was only taught maybe like 70% coverage. That's a whole different story with that trainer. I'm one of the people in this industry that was trained and didn't learn much. I was kind of scammed by a training. I didn't receive any products either. Like I received Nagaruku. They were from like Amazon. Like I paid that money. I could have at least gotten a little bit better products, but that's in the past. So then I started practicing, and my sets were looking crazy, but we've all been there. They were pretty crazy. Um, I have some experiences with clients because my sets were a little crazy, and I was not professional back then, so my customer service was just everywhere. But I started lashing. It took me 4 to 5 hours on just one person, and I was currently living with my grandma at the time in her one-bedroom apartment. And I started lashing, and she was totally fine with it. I would lash, I would have maybe one person after work. I worked a 9 to 5, so I would have one person after work at like 5:30 p.m. and I would be lashing them till the nighttime. It was crazy. And I started getting booked. I started getting people that wanted to book with me. So it was really cool. My prices were so cheap. Think I was charging like 25 to $40. I don't even remember. But the prices were so cheap. And I had people booking, and then my grandma out of nowhere was like, I don't want people here. And I'm like, well, I need to have clients and I need to build my clientele. So what's gonna happen here? And it ended with me moving out. Back then it was a little easier to move out. I rented a room. I literally went on Craigslist. I'm crazy. I went on Craigslist. I found a couple rooms to rent, and I was texting them. I was like, hey, I have this little side hustle that I lash people and I do bring clients in, but it's only one or two clients a day, even possibly zero. But I just want to make sure you're fine with random people coming into the house. And a lot of them said no. A lot of people said no. And I found one lady. It was an older Asian lady. She was around 80 and she had a four-bedroom house. So the three rooms she rented, and she lived there by herself. And she had agreed for me to be able to bring people in. It was really cool. So I was lashing from there. If any of my clients are watching and you guys have been with me for a while, it was the room with the red carpet. I know y'all remember that room. It was so small. And then I just got into, there was just some drama with other roommates there, and she kicked everyone out a couple months later. But at this time, it was like peak COVID time. I had no job. I was like religiously lashing and relying on the lash money, and she kicked everyone out, and I'm like, where am I gonna lash? I moved into my boyfriend's house at the time with his parents, and they're like, oh, you could lash in the garage. But I felt so unprofessional lashing in the garage with like so many things around. And I almost quit lashing, but his uncle had told me, he's a tattoo artist, so he had told me, oh, you could find like office spaces to rent on Craigslist and stuff. And I was like, how can I do that if I'm not licensed? At that time, I wasn't licensed. I was like, how can I do this if I'm not licensed? If I have like no proof of business and I'm on the run, like I'm kind of hiding out, If State Board catches me, like that's done. And he was like, no, they're really private. Like, the only thing would happen if someone reported you. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go look. And I found a place on a main street, Chula Vista, San Diego, California. I still have clients to this day that have been with me since then. It was a really big spa. I would say it was around 400 to 500 square foot, not just an average room that you rent. Office spaces is where it's at when you're unlicensed. When you're licensed, it's really hard to get an office space because you need a sink and you need all of this for stay board. But I was renting an office space there, and that is when my clientele was getting busy. I started booking people, and I was getting booked. It was a really cool time. I was doing tooth gems at the time. I started training tooth gems. That's a long story. If y'all remember, I used to do tooth gems a lot, and I was really good. I've thought about bringing them back, but so I was lashing at an office plate, like an office building, and I really loved it. I didn't plan on leaving, but everything happens for a reason. And I started school. I went to Bellis Academy. While I was in school, I think someone reported me because at that time I didn't have any bad clients. I didn't have anyone who would have reported me. It could have been someone watching me. It could have been anyone, but I truly believe it was someone from school who reported me. Um, I'm not sure who. And at this point, I really don't care anymore. But someone reported me, and I was lashing. So I'm lashing, and I get a little knock on the door, and I'm like, I don't have a client. So I go up, and that office building had a screen door, and I would keep that locked. And then in front of the screen door was a wood door, and that one would be open, and they would knock on the screen door. And I get to the screen door, and it's a lady standing there, and she's like, "Hi." So she says my old name, Baby Doll Beauty Bar. She's like, "Hi, Baby Doll Beauty Bar," and she pulls out like a camera, and she's like, she starts recording, but the screen door you couldn't see nothing through. So she starts recording. She has a clipboard, and I'm like, "Oh no, sorry, wrong business." And then like I locked the door. I don't think it was locked at the time, and I locked the door, and she can't see nothing through the screen door. I just locked it, and then I went back to my client, and luckily my client was I think she was a lash artist, and she wasn't licensed either. And at that time, I was freaking shaking. I didn't even know how I lashed her. Her set probably came out so bad. I'm so sorry to whoever it was back then. But I was so nervous. I'm lashing her, and I'm like, girl, I think that was stay bored. I'm like, what the hell do I do? And this was my like full time job. I had bills at that time, okay? I had a new car. I had a room I was renting. I had freaking bills. So I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? Sorry, y'all, I had to cut it. I had a freaking lash in my eye. But at that time, I was like, what am I going to do? As soon as I left, I canceled my clients for the week, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I will text you once I figure out what's going to happen. I didn't tell them what was going on. I didn't want no one to know I was unlicensed. And I messaged my the owner of the building, and I was like, hi. I came up with like an excuse. I was like, hi, because I had a lease, and I was like, hi, I'm so sorry. I have a relative that I need to take care of in Arizona, and I really need to break the lease. I can pay anything. And she let me leave without paying anything and gave me my deposit back. Like, bless her, bless her. But after that, needed to find a place to lash because this was my full time and I was in school. So I was going to get licensed eventually. And I was looking for a different office building, but I didn't want to be on the run anymore because I was going to be licensed. I wanted to put my license to use. But it was just so hard to find another office space in Chula Vista because that's where I was known from. I didn't want to go to where everyone is in Mission Valley. I didn't want to go to that area because I personally don't like driving to work that far. But my boyfriend brought up the topic like, oh, like, what if we find an apartment and you lash in it? And I was like, I'm not gonna lash in an apartment in the living room or anything. It's gonna need its own its own room because I was already lashing in a salon. Like I called it a salon, an office space. I was like, I can't go from an my own space to like lashing in the living room. I personally felt unprofessional, and I told them if we find a spot, I have to make sure there's parking because I couldn't be a hypocrite because I personally hate when I go to an appointment and there's no parking. Like you're there so early and then you're late because you can't find parking. So I was like, I can't be. I always like talk about that. So I couldn't be a hypocrite. So I was like, okay, I need to find a place. And I was like, why not? I was like, okay, let's move out. Let's find an apartment. And luckily, I found an apartment. It was a luxury apartment up in Palm Avenue. If you guys are from San Diego, it was in Ocean View Hills. And it was a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. It had 2 car garage and a driveway. My brother moved in with us. I was renting a room. And then I was using one room specifically for my services. And it was perfect, 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 perfect. And my clients would park in the driveway. My boyfriend would leave. They would park in the driveway. They always had a parking. And I really loved it. I really loved working from home for a while. And I did that for a really long time. Wait, let me backtrack. Sorry, y'all. Before I moved into that house, I had like 2 months to spare until I could move into that place. So I actually rented a office building. Office space in a big building over here on 8th Street, Chula Vista, and that thing was expensive. It was like 100 square feet, and the price was like 1,500. It was crazy, but I needed somewhere ASAP because I had clients. I couldn't lose my clients, so I went there for like 2 months, and then I went to being home based. And home based was really cool and everything. I felt kind of unprofessional with clients walking into my house. Everyone is different though. Okay, if you work from home and you love it, then that works for you. You know, it works for you and your clients. But I was different. I felt unprofessional just because I went from having a space outside of my house to being inside of my house. I lasted in my house for around a year and a half because I didn't think I could pay for rent and then rent on a different space. And one day I was just so depressed. I was like, I'm here 24/7. I'm working and then I just go to my room. I'm working and I go to my living room. I was depressed. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna figure it out. And I found a room for rent. It was in an actual salon. It was down the street from my actual salon that I'm at now, and that's where I grew a lot of my clientele was my home and then my actual salon. Then I was in that room for a while, and I have so many stories I could go on about that place, about the owner. A lot of my clients know how it was. Even being home based, it's like I had to kiss everyone's ASS. That's how I would put it. If my clients didn't like something, if my clients had a problem, and I was licensed at the time, but when you work from home, you can't use your license because not allowed. So when I was working from home, if any client had an issue, I had to literally make it up to them. I had to refund them because I was so scared of them reporting me to State Board, or I was really scared of them reporting me to the leasing office. But once I moved into that salon room and it was State Board approved, I enforced my policies. Sorry, guys, my phone's blowing up over here. But when I moved into that room, I really enforced my policies, and that is when my business started to flourish when I was in a salon. And I felt like it gave off a very luxurious type of appointment and more personal, private than it was in like a house. But the owner there was just not good and she was very unprofessional. And I'll deep dive into that when I have a guest here too. We can talk about our experience. And my first guest will be someone that I was with in that salon, so we can talk about our experience there. And I think I say a lot. But when I was there, my business did flourish. It looked a lot more professional, I'd say. Even though the salon was kind of ugly, it was really outdated. But when I was there, I was planning on being there for a while. And then my new salon that I'm at now, it kind of just popped up. Like I always just look and it popped up in the perfect timing when my lease was over with that spa. And at first, I was like, I don't think I can do it. The rent is so expensive. And I have a room, I have 2 rooms here and then a back room. And didn't plan on renting the room that I have here now that I do rent out. But at the time, I was like, can I afford that rent without having a renter? And it was like I was going back and forth, and I just decided, let's do it. Let's do it. And I had savings, and I invested so much money into the salon, and I made it super pretty. And I feel like ever since I moved into this spot, my business flourished even more. And I go off of giving a very luxurious luxury type of appointment. Like when you come in, I make them feel so loved and wanted to be wanted. Honestly, I'm really bad with my words, and you guys are going to realize that I get stuck on a lot of my words. But that's kind of the story of how I've kind of gotten here. I have a lot of experiences from when I was home based, the very first time when I was renting a room, that we're going to deep dive into all of that. I just wanted to do a little summary for the ones that don't know me and how my story was and how I've gotten to where I am now. It was always meant to be a side hustle, and then I seen the money I could make and how it was like a full-time job eventually, and I loved what I did and I couldn't see myself doing anything else. I was in school for nursing too, and I couldn't do it. So I just went lashing full time. And I personally didn't know I had to be licensed when I first started, and I seen someone else post about esthetician school, and I was like, I messaged her. I was like, "Is that mandatory? Like, do I have to be licensed?" She's like, "Yeah, girl, in the state of California and multiple states, you got to be licensed." And I looked into it, and I was like, $14,000 to get licensed. And I was like, "You guys got FAFSA? You got financial aid?" And I did, and it went really smooth. School is whatever's. I didn't learn much, but I was there for my license. That's where I fell in love with waxing, and I also do waxing. I consider myself a master Brazilian waxer and sugarista, so I sugar and I do hard wax and everything. But that's kind of just the story of how I started and everything. My name used to be Baby Doll Beauty Bar, and I'm not sure where I got that name from. Now that I think about it, I don't know how I got Baby Doll Beauty Bar, but I always had Beauty Bar because I always had goals to provide multiple services and be a beauty bar. And eventually, it was around 4 years ago, I switched it to San Diego Beauty Bar, SD Beauty Bar. And the main purpose of changing my name to such a basic name is for the purpose that in the future I will own a salon suite business, and it will be named San Diego Beauty Bar, and we are in the process of trademarking my name. I am registered, and I will be trademarked soon. Okay, y'all, but this business is going to flourish even more, and that's why it's San Diego Beauty Bar. So eventually, keep an eye out. I'm gonna have a salon suite business, and it will be San Diego Beauty Bar, and I will have multiple types of industries in there. I would like a makeup artist, brow artist, nail technician. I would love to have everyone in that salon. It's going to be a very gender neutral type salon. So that is what's coming for the future. And then a little supply store for my products, strictly SD Beauty Bar products. I think we're going to do, but that's kind of where everything came from and how I became a lash artist. I don't want this first episode to be too long. I kind of just wanted to dive into who I am as a business and how I became what I am and how my name came to what it is and what it means and everything. And the next episode I am going to have a special guest on here, and I will be introducing everyone, and I would love to hear their stories and how they became what they are, and how just want to hear their journeys as well. And then we'll dive into some experiences we have in this industry. And I know it's going to be so entertaining because I love, 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 love to hear about. I'm a chismosa, okay? I love to hear gossip. I love to hear bad experiences. I love to hear nightmare clients. and I love all of that. So I'm bringing it to you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy what this podcast is going to bring. And if you are listening and would love to be on this podcast, please DM me. I would love to have you on. Eventually, I am going to have write ins from around the world of artists who cannot fly in or, can't be here. I would love to hear your experiences, and they can be very anonymous. We will just talk with another artist. We will discuss them and react to them, and y'all can hear other experiences. I think that would be super fun. So that is the end of this episode. Thank y'all for watching. I really appreciate it. This is just an introduction to me, myself, and I. This is Behind the Lash. So it's behind the industry and all of our experiences. But this is Behind the Lash. This is our very first episode with your host, SD Beauty Bar. And I hope to see you in the very next episode. And we will be having a special guest. It'll be a little bit more juicy. This one is just a little more calm, relaxed type of episode. Thank you guys for watching. And I can't wait to see you guys in the next one.